Hello, it's the Cryo Lady. So today I'm going to talk about my toxic father, my abusive father really. And he was, because abuse comes in many forms as we know, some more obvious than others. So here we go. Now, I have not seen my parents, I've not seen any of my family since 2012 actually. Basically what happened was in December 2012 I went over to their house. It was just before Christmas. I got there. My sister Fiona, her husband Kevin and their daughter Emma were there. And I went over to take some Christmas presents over because I'm kind of nice like that. I didn't actually ring to tell them that I was coming because, I found that if I said I was going to come over, they'd often say no. I don't know why. I'm guessing, they just didn't like me. They didn't like me. I actually did know. I found out subsequently that I was unwanted and they'd actually said that they'd never wanted me. Anyway, why? Again, I don't know. And do I care? Not really, I don't care now. But anyway, so it was Christmas, it's going to be Christmas. I was going to be on my own because my kids had gone to Hampshire for Christmas. And I guess, I was reaching the end of the line with them anyway, and I wanted to see what they would say to me when I told them that I was going to be on my own at Christmas. And they said absolutely nothing. They said nothing at all. And it was clear they didn't want me there on Christmas Day. They wanted their favourite daughter Fiona and their favourite grandchild Emma to be there, but they weren't interested in having me there or having anything to do with me. So that was basically that. As it was, I wasn't on my own because my eldest son Louis travelled down from Hampshire because he didn't want me to be on my own. So that kind of just about sums them up really as to what they were like as people, I suppose. Now, Floyd, he is my father. I guess if I give, a critical analysis of what I think about him, bearing in mind I worked in psychiatry for around 27 years. So, I do know quite a bit about a lot of things, and I do know about people. I feel that Floyd was probably quite a damaged person in himself. Now, his mother was married, but when she was married, she had an affair, and Floyd was the product of that relationship. So Floyd's mother, Alice, and her husband, I don't know his name, they got divorced. He divorced her, but Floyd took the name of Alice's husband. Anyway, all through growing up, Floyd was probably quite, in fact I know he was a bit tortured over the fact that he was effectively what we would call a bastard, or a bastard, so he probably got some teasing, etc. Now, curiously, his mother she just sort of disappeared off somewhere, and he was left with his grandparents. Now, he lived with his grandparents, and according to him, he was very, very happy with them. He had a stable upbringing, etc. Anyway, I think they were getting on, they were getting older, and so they contacted his mother, they contacted Alice and said, you have to come and take responsibility for your son. By this point, she'd hooked up with some guy, I can't remember his name, was it Arthur? Perhaps it was something like that. And everyone thought that they were married, okay? They weren't married. She'd just changed her name by deed poll to his surname. But they did remember, they remained together until she died. Anyway, all of a sudden, Alice turns up with her, in inverted commas, husband, and Floyd was transported away. I'm gathering that he didn't have the best of relationships with her because he wanted to join the army. He wanted to go to Sandhurst to train to be an officer. She point blank refused. She wouldn't have it. So he never went to university, but he went to college and he trained as an electrical mechanical engineer. Whilst he was at college, he met Janice, that's my mother, and they got married. When Alice learnt that they were going to get married, she sent a telegram on their wedding day telling him to urgently come home. Of course he didn't. He married Janice and they went on to develop a sort of codependent, rather sick sort of relationship. The relationship always revolved around what Janice wanted, Janice got. Janice liked to move house a lot. I mean, when I say a lot, I mean so far, I think, 26 to 30 times. That's an estimate. It could be a bit more than that. Janice liked to move to different places, different parts of the country. So what Janice wanted, Janice got. And Floyd Floyd enabled all of that, because basically outside of the family, Floyd pretty much had no one. His mother by this point, she died, and he got screwed over in the will. He was very, very upset about that, because Alice and her, in inverted commas, I guess common law husband, if you like, had a child together, Sonia, so that is Floyd's half-sister, and it caused a lot of friction between Floyd and Sonia, because out of the will, Floyd was only left a few £1,000s. He protested, and eventually Sonia capitulated and gave him a bit more money. So there was that. One of the things Floyd used to really enjoy doing, and I found this kind of grossly inappropriate, was he'd comment on my body shape. He'd tell me that my bottom looked, how my bottom looked and things like that. I mean, I found that rather inappropriate. He would say it to other female members in the family, and it was inappropriate in my opinion. It made me feel very uncomfortable, and I did not like it. The other thing that he used to comment on, well, apart from commenting on your looks, the other thing about Floyd is that he very, very much liked to talk about himself. In fact, it was his favourite topic. Now, Janice was so spiteful, I guess, as a person, that even she couldn't stop herself from telling me and everyone else in the family how Floyd used to, as she put it in her own words, blow his own trumpet. Whenever we were around the house, whenever I had my family visiting, and whenever just we had company around the house, like once a year, he would have, when he was working for Sedgemoor District Council in Somerset, he'd invite people that worked underneath him and with him to our home, and he'd hold sort of a get-together. Now, this was always a bit tricky, because Janice was quite antisocial in her behaviour, owing to the fact that she was quite bigoted, but Floyd loved it because he liked nothing more than holding court and having a good old chat about himself. He would never ask people about themselves, because, again, he didn't sort of have the social abilities to be able to do that. So, yeah, that's a bit about Floydy.